All right, let's jump right into this explainer and decode a massive, game-changing shift in global energy that absolutely shocked the markets. For decades, the global oil market has operated under a very specific, tightly controlled set of rules. But virtually overnight, one of the biggest players out there decided to just tear up the rulebook. We're talking about the United Arab Emirates announcing its departure from OPEC.
So why would a nation whose immense wealth is fundamentally tied to a collective cartel decide that going solo is suddenly their absolute best strategy for survival? I mean, it's a fascinating puzzle. And to really piece it together, we have to look past the immediate headlines and examine the macro forces that are pushing oil toward a breaking point. Let's start by looking at the biggest problem facing oil producers today.
Section 1. The Global Energy Shift, the SALT Paradigm.
We're currently witnessing a massive paradigm shift in how the world consumes power. And to really grasp it, think about salt. Seriously, for thousands of years, salt was a vital strategic resource. Empires were built and destroyed over it. People literally went to war for seasoning. But then, refrigeration was invented. Almost overnight, salt transitioned from a crucial geopolitical asset worth fighting and dying for into a simple, everyday commodity. We definitely didn't stop using salt, but it completely lost its strategic dominance. Electrification is poised to do the exact same thing to fossil fuels.
As one really astute industry watcher noted, and I love this phrasing, the zenith of oil is here. We've reached a critical tipping point in energy history. We're no longer looking at a future of endless expanding demand. We are looking at a fundamental plateau.
To put this into perspective, let's quickly define two crucial concepts. We are currently navigating the space between peak oil and the nadir. Now, peak oil isn't about running out of oil. It's the moment where global oil consumption hits the absolute highest it will ever be. Because from that point forward, it's inevitably going to fall. The nadir, on the other hand, is that distant point where oil is essentially phased out entirely. Right now, the UAE and other major producers realize we're hovering right at that peak.
The core problem driving this shift is extreme price volatility. When energy prices skyrocket, which, let's be honest, you've likely felt directly at the gas pump, it hurts global economies, and that pain heavily incentivizes massive investments in alternatives. On top of that, electrified equipment is making huge leaps in capability every 2 to 3 years. Stuff that used to run only on diesel is now increasingly viable on battery power. The writing is clearly on the wall.
Section 2. The UAE's Economic Squeeze, Internal Pressures and Artificial Limits. With this global countdown clock ticking in the background, let's zoom in on the specific pain points for the United Arab Emirates right now. They're feeling a severe economic squeeze internally. While they've worked really hard to diversify their economy, a major pillar, their tourism industry, is struggling significantly to recover to previous heights. And there are only so many ways to compensate when the hotels and attractions just aren't full. Because that revenue stream is suppressed, the UAE absolutely must maximize its profits in other areas just to keep its broader economy afloat. They need capital, and they need it quickly.
But here is the critical problem, and honestly, the main pain point driving this entire decision. Their actual production capacity is vastly higher than the strict, self-imposed limit they are forced to abide by under OPEC rules. Imagine the sheer frustration there. The UAE has invested billions building up the infrastructure to pump massive amounts of oil, but OPEC tells them exactly how much, or rather how little, they're actually allowed to sell. They literally have a massive asset sitting unused while their economy urgently needs cash.
Section 3. Breaking the cartel. The push for production control.
To survive this domestic economic squeeze, the UAE had to reclaim control from international alliances. It was their ultimate solution. They realized the system was just working against them. Let's remember what OPEC essentially is. It's a cartel. A cartel operates by enforcing production caps among its members to create artificial scarcity in the market. By withholding supply, they dictate artificially higher prices. But for the UAE, this dynamic was getting incredibly frustrating. They were sitting on massive reserves, severely constrained by quotas, all while feeling like the direction of OPEC was being overwhelmingly dominated by rivals, most notably Saudi Arabia. The UAE essentially decided they were tired of leaving money on the table just to support a cartel price that benefits their competitors.
Economic commentators are calling this exit exactly what it is, OPEC's version of Brexit. It's a massive, historically compliant global player suddenly going rogue to escape restrictive rules. Just like the UK leaving the European Union to regain economic sovereignty, the UAE is leaving OPEC to regain absolute control over its most valuable national resource.
Section 4. The Short-Term Ripple Effect, True Market Prices and Geopolitical Fallout.
So, let's look at how this builds into an immediate shockwave across the global energy landscape. When a giant leaves the group, the tremors are felt everywhere. But you might be wondering, if breaking the cartel introduces more supply, and therefore lowers the price of a barrel of oil, how does this actually help the Emirates financially? Why trade a high, stable price for a lower, more competitive one?
The answer is all in the sheer volume. By leaving, the UAE executes a really strategic three-pronged solution. First, they maximize output. They can outproduce and slightly undercut their former OPEC rivals, which massively increases their global market share. Second, they collapse the scarcity model. Yes, they bring oil back to true, lower market prices, but they completely make up the difference by selling significantly more volume while global demand is still relatively high. And third, there's a massive geopolitical shift here. Lower oil prices deal a severe financial blow to nations heavily reliant on high per-barrel revenues to fund their states. This puts extreme pressure on competitors like Russia and Iran.
Section 5. The Future of Power. Preparing for the Post-Oil World.
Now, it's really important to understand that this isn't just a short-term cash grab to fix a temporary tourism slump. It's a profound strategic maneuver to fund their survival in the long-term energy landscape. This is the ultimate goal they're building toward. The UAE knows perfectly well that oil won't be the global linchpin forever. They see the zenith we discussed earlier. So they're taking the reins off production right now, maximizing their oil profits while they still can, to aggressively fund a transition into the true future of energy. And that future isn't just about finding a new fuel to burn. It's about mastering efficient power generation, creating broad and resilient distribution grids, and developing advanced storage solutions. The UAE is literally using the last great era of oil to buy their ticket into the post-oil, renewable-powered world.
Which brings us to the ultimate question. The UAE has proven they had the economic leverage and the strategic foresight to just walk away. But this leaves us with one massive, lingering thought. If the UAE can successfully break rank, maximize their output, and actually thrive by embracing true market dynamics, will the rest of the cartel soon collapse under the weight of the renewable revolution? Are we watching a single nation pivot? Or are we witnessing the beginning of the end for the most powerful economic alliance in modern history? Keep a close eye on the markets, because the rules of energy have officially changed. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I'll see you next time.